Let's bring in National Border Patrol Council Vice President Art Del Cueto. He was at the meeting with the president, and he joins us now. Your reaction to the president's moves today and his remarks today, Art? Great to see you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It was actually refreshing. Not that, this president has not shown the support towards law enforcement before, but I think this reassures it. When you're talking about sanctuary cities, what is it really? It's a magnet that creates criminals to go to these areas. And, frankly, if cities are not going to do nothing about it, if city governments aren't going to do nothing about it, this is the right move. Something needs to be done. You start looking at all these individuals that have lost their lives because of these ridiculous sanctuary city policies. Here we have the president doing the right thing again. Let's just hope everybody else understands it and their love for this country starts showing a lot more than their hate towards one president.
These cities are now pushing back, saying that the border SWAT team, what's effectively the Border Patrol's equivalent of the SWAT team, being deployed to back up ICE in these sanctuary cities. Looks like 10 of these cities, they could possibly start roundups this coming weekend. That's what we are hearing. They're worried about an overreacting from the part of these Border Patrol guys. Your take on that?
No, I work next to these individuals. I know how professional they are and what they do. If there's any overreacting, the only overreacting is going to be by certain members of the media and certain politicians that have already been making these individuals be villains for a long, long time. These are men and women that are very pro law enforcement. They're professionals in their job. They're going to go out there and do what needs to be done to make sure that our streets are safe and that our country is safe. That's plain and simple. That's what it is. If there's any, miscommunication, it surely is from a lot of individuals that want to just continue making the president the bad guy, making law enforcement the bad guy, and at some point it needs to stop. Sanctuary cities are a magnet for criminals, and it needs to stop.
Okay, the administration ramping it up. Homeland Security moved to end expedited airport processing for new applicants in the sanctuary state of New York. Justice Department filed legal action against California, New Jersey, King County, and Washington State, which covers Seattle, about their sanctuary policies. ICE ramping up pressure, going to the courts now in Connecticut and in Colorado. Your take on this multi-pronged approach?
You have to think outside the box when you want to get things done correctly. And I've said it. I continue to say it. Sanctuary city policies, what they do is they create a magnet. And all you have to do is look at the countless amounts of individuals and American lives that have been lost because, of the effects of sanctuary cities. And I'll go a step further, because a lot of these individuals, they start, making it about race. It's not about race. If you start looking at who's lost their lives because of the illegal immigrants that have been here, a lot of them are immigrants themselves. We heard from one today where, her grandma herself was an immigrant. And, she lost her life because an illegal immigrant was able to attack her, and it was because of the sanctuary cities. Anything that happens with American lives caused by these sanctuary cities, it falls on the hands of the politicians that are allowing it.
Yeah.
President Trump is doing his best to stop that and to protect American lives. And, I, for one, am extremely happy about it.
We've talked to both Trump supporters and Democrats. They have said this is an issue about crime, that of course, this country is pro-immigrant. This country was built by immigrants. This is about safety. It's about crime. We're looking at the cases in Colorado and in Connecticut, these criminal illegals that ICE wants information on, second-degree manslaughter, burglary, robbery, drug dealing. So ICE subpoenaed Denver authorities. Now they're going into Connecticut. What other states are you hearing this action could be taking place in?
I haven't seen what other states are taking place, but I'll tell you this, Liz. This is what the problem is. You have these individuals that, they want to make it about race. They want to make it about, making law enforcement villains, when in reality they're not opening their eyes to what their own constituents want. I don't care what side of the aisle you're on. I've spoken to both sides of the aisle. At the end of the day, everyone wants to be secure in their home. Illegal is not a race. I've said it many times. Everyone deserves to be safe in their homes. Why should our country's borders be any different? Why should some cities be different? Yep. All we're asking is follow the laws. Illegal is illegal.
We've had on our show, the Evening Edit was probably one of the only shows in the country starting about 3 years ago, bringing on angel families,
right.
Who had basically their children assaulted and killed and murdered. I know that we are now around dinner time in many parts of the country. We won't get into the details of those cases, but this is about protecting immigrants who've come here and public safety. I want to get to what the president said today. I think we've got that soundbite. Let's listen.
We're calling on Congress to pass legislation giving American victims the right to sue sanctuary cities and hold them accountable for the suffering and the damages that they've caused.
Again, this is a generous country. 22 million illegal immigrants inside our borders already. We understand that, of course, everybody is for immigration. Again, Art, your comments on what the president said just there.
I mean, it's 100% on. How do you not hold somebody responsible for this? And if politicians in sanctuary cities are going to be that irresponsible to allow, criminals to be in their streets causing havoc, somebody needs to be held accountable.
But they're saying this is racist. You hear it out of California, you hear it out of New York officials, you hear it on MSNBC, you hear it on CNN. They keep saying time and time again, this is a racist policy. Your take on that?
Liz, I'm Hispanic. I came to this country legally. Members of my family came legally.
From where?
From Mexico. And I think it's very irresponsible of a lot of politicians and very irresponsible of a lot of the media to use that as a crutch to brainwash Hispanic people throughout the United States. That's what it comes down to. I am here because this country is that much better, and I love this country. And I have sworn an oath and allegiance to only one country, and that's the United States of America. It has nothing to do with race. Illegal is not a race.
All right, we're also seeing record amounts of fentanyl and all sorts of drugs, heroin and cocaine at the border. We're seeing new corridors coming up into the United States, not just through the southwest border, but also through the eastern corridor up through the Carolinas. So it's also about that. It's about the narco-terrorist drug cartels as well, right?
Correct, Liz. And people need to understand that these drugs are not staying at the border, or they're not staying in areas where they're being crossed. These drugs are making their way into Middle America, and it's affecting our kids. A lot of the children in different schools. People need to wake up. People really need to wake up. If they need to do the research and realize that this is causing harm to citizens, children in the United States. And it's not about a political party, and it's not about race. It comes down to this: how much do you really love this country and support a president that actually has shown love for citizens of this country? That's what we need to do and stand by.
Art Del Cueto, thank you for your service to our country. Good to see you, my friend. Come back soon.
Thank you, Liz.
Okay.